Well, hello all. I wanted to give you guys a warm welcome from Macon, Georgia. My name is Kate Aultman. I'm the head of the Washington Memorial Library. And today I am going to be talking to you about Safe at the Desk, Trauma Informed at the Washington Memorial Library. So I do want to preface this with I have started the screen recording. If you want to chat with other participants, please use the chat box. And we are going to jump on in. So again, started recording. Here we go. A big thank you to Conference Chair Kimberly Buckley, as well as the San Jose State University School of Information for creating this conference today. So, Washington Memorial Library, safe at the desk. I'm here today to detail the triumphs and struggles of analyzing safety, implementing boundaries, reporting incidents, promoting communication, and standardizing an institutional response to unwanted patron behavior. What this really is analyzing staff well-being while dealing with unwanted patron behavior and how to improve the environment at the service desk. So, welcome to Bibb County. It is a small county in the middle of Georgia. You can see to the left of the screen. And I run the Washington Memorial Library. It's the library with the largest footprint within the Middle Georgia Regional Library, which is a library of 17, soon to be 18 libraries with a mission to connect all people to the information necessary to improve their lives through excellent services and materials. Specifically here in Bibb County, we have around 157,000 people. Around 36% of those identify themselves as Caucasian, 54% African American, and in 2023, we had some of our highest crime rates within the state of Georgia. And we are currently working on with just 83 police officers within the county itself. So one of the big challenges I faced when going into middle management is this statement of, I don't feel safe at the desk. So the concept of this presentation is really around this narrative I started hearing in 2021. This, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe, and trying to unpack that statement. Do you not feel physically safe? Do you not feel psychologically safe? Are you uncomfortable working with the vulnerable people within Bibb County? And the real emphasis and thing I wanted to change within our service space is when frontline librarians and library assistants express trepidation or even fear of the public, and how middle management can improve that quality of interaction by training and support. Now, how are we improving this quality? So, to truly analyze the how, I am trying to disrupt this idea of the library trauma cycle and changing an environment so that staff internalization, which is a part of the 3 arrows of the trauma cycle, that staff internalization is met with empowerment and validation. Now, the library trauma cycle model is taken from Urban Librarians Unite report on library trauma from 2021. And when I saw this cycle in 2021, it just fit. It really fit with the idea of this, I don't feel safe, I'm uncomfortable. And the staff response to trauma-informed service that I really struggled with, which was the response of, yes, we're definitely going to be trauma-informed with the public, but what about the staff? What are we doing for us? So to try to disrupt this cycle, I focused on 5 different things. Again, it was analyzing safety. It was implementing boundaries. It was reporting incidents, promoting communication, and standardizing a response. So that first bullet point is safety, both physical safety, psychological safety, and the ideals of trauma-informed service. So this emotional toll of working with vulnerable patrons affects your perception of both physical and psychological safety. Now, ways of promoting physical safety within the building could be safety protocols. Let's say we've got security guards or a security camera. There's actually a picture of me waving on a security camera to demonstrate some of our safety protocols. There's also risk management, this idea of analyzing how we are working with the vulnerable and how we can improve our approach. One of the great tools we received in the past couple of years was using homeless training by Ryan Dowd and having a paid subscription to that for our frontline service workers. And then finally, providing safety training, being able to know and use all of the tools that our Georgia Public Library Service and our Middle Georgia Regional Library provide, and making it accessible for staff. Now, on the idea of promoting psychological safety within the workplace, that is really up to middle management to develop trust with each individual staff member, making sure that there's space for staff ideas and opinions to be respected and valued, let alone just heard, and then having individuals feel safe to be their authentic selves as much as possible within a professional environment. Our final thought on safety is trauma-informed service. Now, on our end, trauma-informed service is an expectation of our customer service. You are not serving the public without being trauma-informed. Now, how I want that to be seen is empathetic service, positive patron encounters, and a more trusting workplace by using simple statements that create clear boundaries that are fair, firm, consistent, and assertive. Now, the way this rolls out onto our service desks is that it's consistency at each service point. And we've got 10 service points within the library here, and a uniform response to patron behavior, all patron behavior, both wanted and unwanted. Now, trauma-informed service throughout, especially the past 2 years, has really kind of informed how we react to unwanted behavior. We've had in 2023, as I said before, there was a little bit of an increase in interesting things going on in Bibb County in 2023 when it comes to crime. Here in the library, we had about 6 incidents per month, 6 reports of incidents per month in 2023. And then through training and empowerment and trauma-informed service, we now have 9 a month, which is a more consistent response to unwanted behavior and has become a less repetitive behavior cycle. So our next bullet point on the circle of library trauma is boundaries. And within boundaries, it's talking about scripts, teamwork, and empowerment. So scripts, they lend staff pre-made statements to curb unwanted behavior while alerting other staff members at different service points to the need of possible backup. So there are a lot of different things you can say to alert the staff members you're working with. But one of the best things that I like to use is, how can I help you with something library related? Now, when I go through training with each of my staff members 4 times a year, I make sure to really sell that point of a script and also of a verbal signal of needing help. So, as you can tell, I have a kind of lower voice, but when I am promoting this idea of sending out that verbal signal, I use my Barbie voice. So if you're ever at a service point I'm working at and hear, How can I help you with something library related? That normally means that I'm going to need some help from my team. This idea of teamwork, providing backup, and being truly aware of your entire environment is what's going to make this trauma-informed response the most effective. All right, our final point on the idea of boundaries is empowerment. Now, how do we take a armchair librarian to a librarian using all of the tools in his pocket or in her pocket to be able to have effective boundary setting? We want to both empower ourselves and others to use those tools. So what empowerment and success looks like is really Jonathan Williams. He is a great example of this. This is success in the form of being calm and collected, no matter what kind of information is given his way over the desk from patrons, being aware and observant of the environment, building professional personal connections with patrons, having a first name basis, maybe remembering their specific genre of book that they really like, and then using knowledge from reporting to recognize behavior patterns. That could be on the point of, I will get a direct message or I will get a phone call from Jonathan, who's usually working at our circulation desk, and say, hey, this person just entered the building. I know that we've had struggles before. Is he okay to come on in, or do I need to call security? He is empowered and uses all of the information that we send out to be able to make those basic judgments and then ask the people in charge if the judgment has to come down as a consequence. So I really do appreciate that. Successful empowerment. Our next bullet point is reporting. We're going to be talking about both digital reporting, email prompts, and transparency. So in 2021, we had paper reports. Now they could either be typed in and filled out within a PDF, or you could print them, scribble on exactly what you need, and then send it to administration. On our end, we have transitioned to digital reporting. This means that we use Google Forms. That's where we have the same kind of questions we had in the other form, but some have required answers for submittal. Like, you got to put your name in, you got to put the right date in, you have to put the location in, very basic things like that, that in the past, when they were only paper forms, they could be submitted without all of the pertinent information. But we've fixed that one. Now, the other thing that Google Forms does, which I really enjoy, is Google Forms will populate all the information from the report into a Google Sheets spreadsheet. What's great about Google Sheets is we have been able to set up an email notification that anytime there is an edit in the spreadsheet, that could mean when someone submits a Google form, that's a edit in the spreadsheet, or it could be someone slightly changing a description because they found more information about a incident report. Either of those things will create a prompt within every staff member's email saying, there's been an incident report edit. Please look at our Google Sheets to find out more information. Okay, and our final part of reporting is transparency. Now, with transparency, we've got to figure out how to have staff understand why we document unwanted behavior, and then also the steps the institution takes when there is repeat occurrences of unwanted behavior. We're figuring out ways to expose the gears and inner workings of our process by allowing all staff to view our reports, allowing all staff to view the Google spreadsheet so that they can collect the information they need to do their job effectively. Now, another part of transparency is an idea of reflexive transparency. Now, I do customer service training with each staff member 4 times a year. And when I do that, I am also collecting information. One of the great things that I actually took from a presentation from Sequoia Regional Library System Patron Experience Toolkits is empathy maps. So while I'm doing customer service training, let's say I give them a topic of service desks. I then ask them to write down on little Post-its different kind of information and thoughts that they have about service desks. And then together, after being able to put things into the says, thinks, does, and feels section, we then create goals about how to change some of the problems that we see in those Post-it notes. Now, one of the things with that kind of reflexive transparency that I have seen the most of in my recent training is when I put the topic for boundaries and boundary setting, most of the Post-its that I get are about sexual harassment or statements that lend to sexual harassment. So within transparency, that is something that we're going to continue to work on with boundary setting and with consequences. All right, my next bullet point is communication. So I'm going to be talking within communication about meeting structure, suspension and barring, and quarterly training. All right, in our meeting structure within the library, we have 3 different tiers of meetings. So our smallest tier of meeting is when we have a middle manager meet with a frontline staff member in a one-on-one meeting. Our second tier of meetings is when all the managers in the county get together and talk about what is going on at their library branches. And then that third and highest tier of meeting is an administrative meeting, where all of the heads of our communication chain get together, sit together, and hash out decision-making for our Middle Georgia Regional Library System. Now, in each of those 3 tiers of meetings, we concentrate on safety, admin, staffing, materials, services, IT, and facilities. So each meeting structure pattern is used in each meeting space, and the original concerns will always come from that first tier meeting, that one-on-one between a middle manager and frontline staff member. The other meeting structure we have is new to us by about 3 years, and it is an incident report check-in. This is a really great way to have staff internalization within that library trauma cycle met with empowerment and validation. Now, the way we do this is that within a week after an incident, we hold an incident report check-in between the frontline staff member and the person within middle management who supervises them. During that time, we cover coaching, which is really where we can have opinions shared with frontline staff member and make sure that they are respected and valued for their information, for their take on what happened. Then we have a referral process where we have an employee assistance program here in Georgia. And when I talk to my middle managers, this is always a great time to say, we are information professionals, but we are not mental health professionals. But through the Employee Assistance Program of Georgia, we can get you 6 free meetings with a mental health professional that could really help if you are questioning the situation that you have just been through. And then finally, training. And during training, it is ideal that maybe they sit through a webinar, maybe they read through a workflow, and they find validation in that information. They find the things that they did right so that they can continue to do well within our trauma-informed service model. Suspension and barring. So repeat behavior has consequences. Our suspension and barring is a county-wide procedure where if we see unwanted behavior, our first offense is a verbal warning. Then second offense is a suspension from libraries for 1 day. Third offense, suspension for a week. Fourth offense can be suspension for a month or more, depending on the behavior. Now, suspension and barred used to just be paperwork. Now it is a paperwork and a shared Google sheet where we edit to make sure we've got the name, if there's going to be a conference required, any kind of description of the person, and information and paperwork and past incident reports, all about the patron who has been suspended or barred. Then we have an email prompt to all managers within Bibb County. And then the managers are responsible for sharing that information with staff because they have received that email. And in that email, we have scripts. We have the numbers that you can call for 911 or for the non-emergency sheriff's number. We provide them with the information to be successful. And finally, within communication is quarterly training, 4 times a year. Now, it's not always split up in exactly every 3 months within the year. Instead, it's normally January, May, August, and October, but we're a public library, so summer reading program is important. Now, within that training, we train customer service, and trauma-informed service is a part of that customer service, and boundary setting is a part of that customer service as well. Then the other training we do 4 times a year is incident and accident reporting, which is where we really set up a very clear list of things that need to happen when there is an incident or an accident, like calling your manager, making sure there's backup from security, making sure the patron is aware of our expectations of conduct and responsibilities, making sure you approach the patron with your within their line of vision, trying to collect a name or identification, isolating the incident from other patrons so we aren't disturbing anyone, figuring out how many violations there have been in the past so that consequences can be enacted, calling 911 only when it's really needed, and filling out the report and then doing an incident report check-in. Our next bullet point is response, and this is also our final bullet point. So here is that friendly library trauma cycle. As a library, especially as staff members, who are we to be able to really affect those outside stressors from each individual patron? We cannot change the world, but we can definitely help people change it. The way we do that, especially here, is through our frontline staff members. And our frontline staff members were really asking for a change in the environment at the public service desk. And that has become a delicate balance of boundaries, communication, and effective response. So by finding staff validation when reviewing training or in an incident report check-in, we're empowering staff to use the tools and promote individual agency so that staff feel prepared and safe at the desk. Now, this has been a really fantastic reflection on how far we have come in the past 2 years. Now, as I stated earlier, in 2023, we had about 6 incidents per month. In 2024, we had about 9 incidents per month. But our service desk environment has changed. People are prepared. People feel safe. People know what to do. And there is a steady increase, but there is also a very steady and uniform response. So our next spot is going to be institutional. This is where we are, again, within our library trauma cycle, thinking about how our institution is creating a positive environment for internalization, and how that's only really possible with a structured institutional response. So that means there are both consequences for repetitive unwanted behavior, as well as organized and repetitive training and supportive dialogue between middle management and frontline staff. So one of our greatest tools for this environment of internalization is the incident report check-in. And finally, we're going to be talking about managerial response. Now, as managers, especially as middle managers, we are not able to control the outside stressors or the things that come with patrons from the outside world into our library. But what middle managers are really essential at doing, and what managers in general are essential at doing, is communicating professional community response. Now, that's going to be a management response that creates a healthy environment for staff internalization. That environment could be, and I'm using a picture of two people here to be able to talk about it, that environment could be lending a sympathetic ear. Thomas Winkelspecht in the blue will always lend a sympathetic ear to any frontline staff member, and usually people who aren't even in his department. The other thing that this middle manager is great at doing is finding helpful but sometimes contrary opinions and sometimes almost side quests that then become relevant during procedural review. And within middle management, procedural review is essential to have buy-in and uniform response from all of middle management, especially if you are multiple managers working in one space. Now, the other part of professional community's response within managers is the other person in this picture who's wearing gray. This is Jennifer Lotzenheiser. She is the director of Middle Georgia Regional Library System, and she runs exhaustive amounts of compliance with our regional system and our state requirements. She's also the person that you can always go to when you need past context with current concerns. And she can usually make the current concerns that middle management feels are really big, be able to have that context to put it in a true framework. And normally those concerns end up being a little bit smaller than they should be. So with not being able to control outside stressors, but having physical and psychological safety from managerial response, we have created a professional community response that has helped staff internalization. And that has been a perfect way to be able to have trauma-informed service for our patrons, buy-in from our middle management to support our staff, and our staff feel trauma-informed and trauma-supported. So I wanted to say thank you guys for spending a little bit under 30 minutes with me today. And if you have any questions or want to reach out and contact me, here is my information.